Hey everyone, Oscar here. After the success of my Sonic.exe vs Metal Sonic video, I figured I'd run it back with some more creepypasta scaling, but this time for Jeffrey Allen Woods, better known as the one and only Jeff the Killer. This man needs no introduction because he's already one of the most popular creepypastas on the internet, rivaling others like Slenderman or Sonic.exe. I mean, kids were scared to go pee at night because of this man. But does Jeff the Killer really live up to all the hype? Well, to test that, I've decided to put Jeff up against 4 iconic slasher villains to see if he deserves to be in the Horror Hall of Fame. There can only be one slasher in this town after all, so who will come out on top? Without further ado, sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Before we get to pitting Jeff the Killer against all these slasher icons first, we need to know what we're dealing with. Firstly, let me establish what version of Jeff we're using here, because there are a lot. Ultimately, I decided to go with his most popular and notorious version, the 2011 rewrite by GameFuel TV. This is the version almost everyone thinks of when they think of Jeff the Killer, and there's not any valid reason to use another version. With that out of the way, let's cover his powers and abilities. In this story, Jeff is essentially a superhuman despite only being 13 years old. His regeneration, survivability, and pain resistance are his most notable traits. As in the original story, he takes a vicious beating from 3 guys, but acts like he just stubbed his toe. Jeff also recovers from third-degree burns all over his body, among many other injuries, in a couple weeks, while it would take a normal person a couple years, and he didn't even need any skin grafts. Jeff's immune system is also ridiculously strong, as he didn't suffer from any consequences whatsoever after burning off his eyelids and giving himself a Glasgow smile. You would think that maybe he would become blind or get an infection or both, but no, absolutely nothing happened as a result of that. He's quite proficient with knives, being able to use them in melee combat and even throw them with pinpoint accuracy. Even without a weapon, Jeff is a skilled fighter, being able to defeat Randy, Troy, and Keith with relative ease, despite the fact all 3 of them were armed. He's also a master of stealth, being nearly invisible when sneaking around at night and planning his next murder. And lastly, if Jeff punches someone really hard in the chest, he can stop their heart from beating. I'll talk more about that feat later. And speaking of, let's talk about Jeff's strength next. He should scale far above the 3 bullies, considering that even in a weakened but bloodlusted state, he was able to kill all of them, not to mention that in perfect health while holding back, Jeff defeated them in a 3v1 as mentioned earlier. These are the same guys that can casually jump over a 7-foot tall fence on their skateboards. Yeah, because a group of 12-year-olds, one of whom is obese by the way, could totally do that. This crazy feat was calculated to street level, which actually isn't too bad. In fact, street level is extremely consistent for Jeff, as he should also scale above this feat of Randy throwing him through a patio door. Near the beginning of the story, Jeff casually breaks Randy's wrists, which is anywhere from street to street plus level. And finally, there's this feat of Jeff punching Randy's chest so hard, he causes his heart to stop beating. This perfectly describes a condition called commotio cordis, which is caused when a large amount of force is applied to the heart, triggering cardiac arrest. This punch was calculated to street level as well. For Jeff's speed, the scaling is extremely simple, as he's able to perception blitz his parents, putting him at superhuman. The commotio cordis punch also requires superhuman combat speeds, further supporting this level of speed. So now that we've talked about Jeff, does he stand a chance against these slasher icons? Jeff the Killer's first opponent is Ghostface, the Woodsboro Killer. I'll be using Billy Loomis and Stu Macher in this fight, the original Ghostfaces from Scream. In this fictional scenario, Jeff sneaks into Sidney Prescott's house, preparing to make her his next victim, but runs into Ghostface, who obviously is trying to do the exact same thing. So could Ghostface stand a chance against Jeff the Killer? First, let's compare their powers and abilities, and this category is actually pretty close. Like Jeff, Ghostface is skilled with a knife, a master of stealth, and can take a decent beating. These two have almost the exact same set of abilities, which makes it a bit difficult to determine the winner. Ghostface has the numbers advantage, but Jeff is more resilient, better at hand-to-hand combat, and could also use the Commodio Cordis punch to easily take them out. I'll give the slight edge to Jeff in this category. Next up is Strength. Ghostface's most notable feat is slamming a locked door open, which can be calculated from athlete to street level, and yeah, that's kinda it. This category goes to Jeff, no further explanation needed. And finally, for speed, Ghostface is easily able to catch up to Casey Becker, who was running away from him in fear, which would be at least athletic human. But compared to Jeff straight up blitzing his parents, this is nothing. The final category goes to Jeff as well. Overall, Jeff the Killer wins against Ghostface with low difficulty. Jeff's second opponent is the Predator. But Oscar, Predator isn't a slasher, it's a sci-fi action thriller. Well, yes, but also no. It's definitely a sci-fi and action movie, but it has many elements of a slasher, so that's good enough for me. Anyways, I'll be using the Jungle Hunter from the 1987 film Predator and Predator Hunting Grounds. In this fictional scenario, Jeff is in the jungle for some reason when the Predator spots him, aiming to make Jeff its next target. So will Jeff hunt or be hunted? Well, let's talk about their powers and abilities, and this category easily goes to the Predator. Jeff may be skilled with a knife, but the Predator is skilled with a much larger variety of weapons. And if Jeff barely survived being engulfed in fire, he's definitely not surviving a few shots from the plasma cannon. His survivability and Commodio Cordis punch could still pose a threat to the Predator, but considering that the Predator has enough ranged weapons to keep him at bay, I doubt Jeff would be able to land it. Jeff could maybe throw his knife at the Predator, but it wouldn't do much and he would also be left practically defenseless. But what about strength? Well, the Jungle Hunter should scale above Celtic, who fragmented pillars during his fight with Grid, which is calced to small building level. Even without scaling to other Yautja, the Predator can rip out someone's spine and skull, which would require multi-city block levels of power. But it gets even worse. At the end of the movie, the Predator blows itself up and destroys 300 city blocks of rainforest, which is calculated to town level. So even if Jeff was somehow able to overpower the Predator physically and put up a decent fight, he would most definitely not survive the self-destruction. And lastly, we have their speed, and spoiler alert, the Predator also dominates this category. Scaling the Jungle Hunter above Celtic also means that they should scale to Xenomorphs, who are able to dodge near point-blank gunfire. This is obviously way more impressive than Jeff's feat of blitzing his parents. The Jungle Hunter wins with low difficulty. Jeff's penultimate opponent is Michael Myers, the Boogeyman. In this fight, I'll be using the Thorn timeline, which includes Halloween, Halloween 2, and Halloween 4-6. For this fictional scenario, it's pretty much the exact same thing as the Ghostface one, except Jeff and Michael are at Laurie Strode's house, both trying to kill her. So who's winning between these two knife-wielding, pale-faced murderers? Let's talk about their powers and abilities first. And this category is much more one-sided than you think. Michael has multiple layers of immortality, like resilient immortality, regenerative immortality, reliant immortality, and parasitic immortality. The first two Jeff has much weaker versions of. Michael can also create illusions, possess people, and even instantly kill someone just by thinking about it. Jeff's Commodio Cordis punch could be a problem for Michael, but he could definitely survive it with his parasitic immortality or his reliant immortality. Next up is strength, and this is also one-sided, but not as much as the last section. Michael has multiple wall-level feats, such as breaking doors, shattering a wooden cabinet, and tearing someone's arm off with ease. Meanwhile, Jeff's best feat is breaking someone's wrists, which is pretty impressive, but not impressive enough to stand a chance against Michael. There's also the fact that Michael gets stronger over time, increasing the strength gap between them as the fight goes on. And lastly, we have speed, which is yet again sided in Michael's favor. Michael has many more feats of blitzing humans, all of which consistently places Speed at subsonic. And compared to Jeff blitzing his parents, which is superhuman, Michael is simply way too fast for Jeff to keep up. Michael Myers wins with no difficulty. If you think there's someone important missing from this list of slashers, you'd be right, because I've saved the best for last. Jeff the Killer's final opponent is Jason Voorhees. I'll be using the original timeline, which includes Friday the 13th parts 1 to 8. I won't be including part 1, Jason Goes to Hell, Jason vs. Freddy, or Jason X because Jason is barely in part 1, and nobody can agree on whether or not the 3 other movies are canon, and I'm gonna play it safe by not opening that can of worms. For this fictional scenario, Jeff comes to Camp Crystal Lake to murder his next victim, but discovers Jason's shack in the woods, unintentionally provoking his wrath. So first of all, who's got the better powers and abilities? Well, I don't think it's too surprising to say that Jason wins this category very easily. Like Michael, Jason has several layers of immortality, like retroactive immortality, regenerative immortality, and resilient immortality. But the most important thing to note here is the fact that Jason is undead. Now why is that important? Because Jeff can't use the Commotio Cordis punch on a heart that's not beating in the first place. If Jeff was somehow able to kill Jason though, he can resurrect himself and come back stronger, faster, and more skilled. So that means Jason wins strength too, right? Actually, yeah. Surprisingly, Jason and Jeff are both consistent street tiers, so this category would actually be a draw. That is, of course, if it wasn't for Jason's resurrection. But surprisingly, Speed is also extremely close as well. Jason is able to outrun normal humans and even speed blitz them on occasion, which would make him superhuman just like Jeff. They both also have the same amount of consistency in this tier, so with no way to determine a clear winner, I think I'll call this a tie. Jason Voorhees wins with low to medium difficulty, which makes Jeff the Killer's win-to-lose ratio 1-3. Oof. Maybe you should just stick to normal humans next time. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please consider clicking that subscribe button and turning on all notifications. Make sure to leave a like if you want to see more versus debates in the future just like this one. Tell me who your favorite slasher villain is in the comments. And finally, join my Discord server by checking out the link in the description. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Goodbye.